Pull up a stool. Good to see you. Just slide that coaster over.
Here's your drink.
Perfect, thanks. You know, sitting here at the end of the bar, just looking at the bottles, you hear a lot of stories about family businesses going sideways.
Oh, yeah. Happens all the time.
Right. You've probably heard them too. Two brothers inherit, I don't know, a car dealership or a construction company, and suddenly it's all passive-aggressive emails.
Lawyers involved.
Yeah, lawyers and holiday dinners that feel like hostage negotiations. But I want you to imagine the ultimate family business succession crisis.
Okay.
Like, drop the angry emails, drop the board meetings, replace them with heavy armor-piercing arrows, and severed heads.
That is a slight escalation.
Just a bit. We are taking a deep dive tonight into the Shuanwu Gate incident. It's an event from the Tang Dynasty in early 7th century China. And it is basically the story of how the most intense, paranoid sibling rivalry in history sparked a shockingly ruthless ambush.
A literal bloodbath.
Exactly. But the real reason we are looking at this tonight isn't just the violence, it's the fallout. Because this horrific morning of family-on-family slaughter somehow birthed one of the greatest, most unprecedented eras of peace and prosperity the world has ever seen.
It really forces a reevaluation of how statecraft actually operates. You know, you have an era that defined a culture's golden age, and the initial down payment for that peace was, well, cold-blooded fratricide.
So settle in, take a sip of whatever you're having, and imagine you are the crown prince of a newly unified empire.
Okay. Sounds like a good gig.
Right, the paperwork is signed, the title is yours, you are the legal, undisputed heir. But your younger brother is the one who actually built the empire from the ground up.
Ah, the classic problem.
Yeah, he's the one who bled in the mud. He's the one the army worships. How well do you think you'd sleep at night?
You wouldn't. I mean, this is the architectural flaw of the entire dynasty at that moment.
Right.
The chaotic startup phase of conquering the lands is over. The empire is finally at peace. But autocracy doesn't really allow for power sharing.
No, it's the we survived the garage phase, now who actually owns the company dilemma, but with, you know, standing armies.
Exactly.
The younger brother here is Li Shimin. He's the Prince of Qin. And during the brutal wars to unify China, Li Shimin did all the heavy lifting.
He was a visionary battlefield commander.
Yeah, and because of that, his military prestige isn't just high, it's atmospheric. He is completely overshadowing his older brother, the Crown Prince. Honestly, he's even overshadowing their father, the emperor, who actually sits on the throne.
Which creates an impossible psychological trap for the crown prince, Li Xiancheng. The historical sources show a man in a state of sheer terror.
Panic mode.
Complete panic. Xiancheng is sitting in the Eastern Palace looking out at his younger brother's soaring popularity, and he's doing the math. He knows he's the legal heir, sure, but he also knows that legitimacy is just ink on paper.
It doesn't mean much against an army.
Right. Li Shimin's military loyalty is essentially a loaded weapon left on the table. Xiancheng knows that when their father dies, whoever is holding that weapon dictates the rules.
I mean, I almost feel bad for the guy. It's like, you are the nominal manager of a restaurant, but your younger brother is a celebrity chef who just won 3 Michelin stars.
Yeah, and the entire kitchen staff will only take orders from him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know you are entirely expendable. So, the Crown Prince realizes he has to dismantle his brother's power. He teams up with another brother, Li Yuanji.
They form a bloc.
Yeah, and they start a systematic campaign to just strangle Li Shimin politically.
They approach the emperor and relentlessly file grievances against Li Shimin.
Yeah.
They accuse him of overstepping his bounds.
Like writing bad performance reviews for your sibling?
Sort of, but more lethally, they systematically peel away his power base. They maneuver to have Li Shimin's best generals and master strategists reassigned to the frontiers,
Just shipping him out.
trying to bleed his influence dry piece by piece.
And this is where the stakes elevate from a squabble to, like, an existential crisis. The brothers think they're just playing politics. They severely miscalculate what happens when you back a military genius into a corner.
A very dangerous game.
Extremely. Because in this specific geopolitical climate, losing your influence doesn't mean retiring to a quiet country estate to, you know, paint landscapes.
Yeah.
Losing your power base means that the second the old man dies, the new emperor executes you and your entire bloodline just to prevent any future rebellions.
And you have to remember, the newly unified Tang Dynasty was incredibly fragile at this point.
Oh, super fragile.
If these brothers had allowed their Cold War to turn hot, it wouldn't have just been a localized tragedy. It would have fractured the entire continent.
Yeah, warlords would have seized the opportunity. Millions of peasants would have died in a civil war. Lake Shimin understood the mathematics of survival here.
Sitting around waiting to be purged was not on his agenda.
Definitely not. If family politics have deteriorated into a life or death struggle, you don't wait for the axe to fall. You swing first. Which brings us to the morning of June 4th. Let me paint this picture for you.
Please do.
So it's early morning in the capital city of Chang'an. There's this heavy, thick fog hanging in the air.
Very cinematic.
Right. It's completely quiet. We are at the Shuanwu Gate, the heavily fortified northern entrance to the palace grounds. If you're heading to the royal court to conduct state business, you have to funnel through this gate.
It's a perfect strategic choke point.
Exactly. Li Shimin knows his brother's commute.
Hmm.
So while the crown prince and his ally brother are waking up, probably having their morning tea, Li Shimin and an elite hit squad of his absolute most loyal veterans have already infiltrated the gatehouse.
Just waiting.
Lying in wait in the mist, total radio silence. The tension must have been thick enough to cut with a sword. Because if this ambush fails, Li Shimin is a dead man. I mean, this is high treason.
He was betting his life, his family's lives, and the fate of the empire on a single, synchronized strike.
So the crown prince, Zhang, and his brother Yuanji come riding up to the gate on horseback. But as they approach the lake near the gatehouse, their survival instincts kick in.
Something feels off.
The environment is just wrong. The usual palace guards are conspicuously absent. The gate is eerily empty.
And the sources indicate they realized instantly they had walked right into a fatal trap.
Yeah, they panic. They yank the reins, spinning their horses around to sprint back to the safety of their own palaces. But out of the fog, out of the shadows of the gate, Li Shimin bursts forward.
He doesn't hold back.
And he doesn't outsource this kill to his men either. He takes it upon himself. He draws his own bow, pulls the string back, tracks his older brother through the mist, and releases.
The shot is perfectly placed. The arrow strikes Crown Prince Jiansheng, dropping him from his horse, dead instantly.
Ooh.
With a single release of a bowstring, the legal succession of the Tang Dynasty is violently rewritten.
It's a brutal, incredibly efficient decapitation of the rival faction. But, you know, like any plan involving violence, the script gets thrown out the window immediately.
Chaos takes over.
Right. You'd think the surviving brother, Yuanji, would surrender. Instead, he just panics. He starts galloping away, wildly trying to fire arrows back at Li Shimin.
Though he was so terrified his hands were shaking, he couldn't even properly string his bow.
And Li Shimin is spurring his horse, chasing him down. But suddenly, and you can't write this stuff, Li Shimin's horse gets spooked.
Oh, no.
It veers off into the dense woods nearby, and the horse's reins get hopelessly tangled up in the low-hanging tree branches. The horse stops dead.
Just abruptly.
Yeah. Li Shimin is launched out of the saddle, flying through the air, and hits the dirt hard. He is completely incapacitated, just lying flat on his back in the mud.
So the architect of the ambush is suddenly the most vulnerable man on the field.
Exactly. Yuanji, the fleeing brother, sees this happen. He realizes the man who literally just murdered his brother is lying helpless on the ground. Yuanji jumps off his horse, completely consumed by rage.
He doesn't even bother drawing a sword, right?
No, he leaps onto Li Shimin in the dirt, grabs the heavy string of his own bow, loops it around Li Shimin's neck, and starts strangling the life out of him right there in the mud.
Wow. It strips away all the majesty of the royal court. This is not some detached political assassination.
Raw.
It is two brothers rolling in the dirt, physically tearing each other apart for the right to rule an empire.
So what do you do when the mastermind of your faction, the man you just staked your life on, is seconds away from having his windpipe crushed in the mud?
You call in your best guy.
You call in the absolute heaviest hitter on your payroll. Enter Yu Qigong.
Yu Qigong is one of the most legendary figures in Chinese military history. He is the quintessential heavy shock trooper.
I picture this guy like a towering, dark god of war encased in heavy armor. He hears the struggle in the woods, sees his commander getting choked out, and charges in.
Just pure momentum.
He lets out this thunderous roar. He levels his long spear, hits Yuanji like a freight train, and knocks him completely off Li Shimin.
Yu Qigong stabs Yuanji and ruthlessly finishes him off, securing the perimeter. He saves Li Shimin's life, but the crisis is far from over.
Not even close. Because assassinating the leaders is one thing. Dealing with their private army is another.
Yeah, there's always the blowback.
Down at the gate, the heavily armed troops, loyal to the dead crown prince, realize what's happening. They launch a furious, desperate assault on Shuanwu Gate. They are trying to breach the walls to avenge their patrons.
And this is the moment the incident could have spiraled into a catastrophic urban war right in the middle of the capital.
Blood in the streets.
Exactly. If those troops break through, Li Shimin and his men will be completely overwhelmed. But this is where Yu Qigong proves he is a master of cold, calculating psychological warfare.
Right. The enemy army is battering at the gates. Yu Qigong doesn't waste time organizing a countercharge or, giving some rousing speech.
No.
He simply walks up the stone stairs to the top of the high wall. He leans over the battlements, and he casually dangles the freshly severed heads of the crown prince and his brother over the edge for the entire attacking army to see.
It's brutal. But the psychological impact of that single visual is profound. You have to understand the mechanics of loyalty in this era.
Right. How does it work?
These troops were fighting for a man, a patron who paid them and guaranteed their social standing. They were not fighting for some abstract ideology.
They weren't fighting for the nation.
No. When Yu Qigong held up those heads, he was showing them the absolute irreversible end of their political faction.
Yeah, the attacking army looks up, sees the bloody heads of their bosses swinging in the morning breeze, and their spirit just evaporates. Weapons hit the ground, the commanders scatter, the army crumbles instantly.
It's incredible.
One gruesome visual completely ended the battle. No protracted siege, no massive casualties among the rank and file.
By committing this one horrifying act of displaying the heads, Yu Qigong effectively shut down what could have been months of devastating urban warfare.
It's a masterclass in extreme problem solving, honestly. But there's a slight lingering issue. A minor administrative hurdle, if you will.
The father.
Yeah, the original CEO. The Emperor Li Wan, who is the father of these three men, is still very much alive.
And he is entirely unaware of the bloodbath that just concluded at his front door.
The old man is out enjoying a nice, peaceful boat ride on the Palace Lake. Imagine the serene water, the morning mist. He's probably having a cup of tea. And then he has to find out what happened.
How do you even break that news?
Right. How do you explain to the emperor that you just slaughtered his other two sons and basically executed a hostile takeover of his empire?
Well, you send Yu Qigong.
Naturally. You send the muscle. Yu Qigong, who is, mind you, still covered head to toe in blood, still gripping his weapons, strides right up to the edge of the lake and just boards the emperor's boat.
The contrast of that image is striking. You have the peaceful, aging emperor on a leisure cruise, suddenly confronted by this towering, blood-soaked warrior who just butchered the royal heirs.
I'd spill my tea.
The sources note that the emperor was visibly terrified.
Obviously. The emperor looks at this walking nightmare and stammers out, "What are you doing here?" And Yu Qigong, with a completely straight face, politely informs him, "Your Majesty, the Crown Prince and the Prince of Qi were traitors. They started a rebellion. The Prince of Qin, Li Shimin, has executed them, and I am here to protect you."
Protect you. It's the ultimate thinly veiled threat.
Nice boat you got here. Be a shame if something happened to it.
Right. And the emperor is a seasoned politician and former general himself. He looks at Yu Qigong. He looks past him at the distant flash of weapons. He knows immediately that his remaining son has seized absolute control.
He knows it's over.
He realizes in that very second that he has lost all of his power.
The gig is up. The old man knows he's been forcefully retired. And the paperwork moves incredibly fast after that. Within 3 days, Li Shimin is officially named the new crown prince, controlling all state affairs.
Just a total sweep.
2 months later, the old emperor formally abdicates, I'm sure, entirely of his own free will, and Li Shimin officially takes the throne. He becomes Emperor Taizong, the second emperor of the Tang Dynasty.
And this is where the historical narrative takes a massive, counterintuitive turn.
Right, because up to this point, this story is a tragedy. It's a Machiavellian bloodbath. A man murdered his brothers, intimidated his father, and stole an empire.
Yes.
Historically speaking, leaders who come to power through this kind of violence usually rule with paranoia. They become tyrants, constantly purging their courts because they are always looking over their shoulder.
That's the usual pattern.
Hold on, so you're telling me a guy who ruthlessly strangled his brother in the mud just woke up the next day and decided to be a benevolent pacifist? I'm not buying it. What was his angle?
Whoa.
You don't just execute a bloody coup and suddenly turn into a philosopher king out of the goodness of your heart.
It wasn't the goodness of his heart. It was a survival mechanism. This horrific morning of fratricide directly forced the creation of an era known as the Reign of Zhenguan.
Which is famous, right?
Very. It is widely considered the pinnacle of good governance in Chinese history. Emperor Taizong recognized a brutal political reality. Because he took the throne illegally, he had no divine or legal mandate to fall back on.
So his usurpation forced him to be a perfect ruler.
Precisely. If a legitimate emperor faces a famine or a minor rebellion, the people might tolerate it because he's the rightful heir.
Sure, they blame the weather.
Right. But if a usurper faces a famine, he's overthrown as a tyrant who angered the heavens. Taizong's only way to prevent a counter-rebellion was to keep the peasants rich, the borders impeccably safe, and the taxes incredibly low.
Wow.
He had to prove his worth every single day to justify the blood he spilled to get there.
So the Golden Age was essentially a massive PR campaign backed by flawlessly executed policy. Let's look at the actual mechanics of what he did. He secures the borders so effectively that he earns the title Heavenly Khan.
Yes.
Now that's a nomadic steppe title, right? He basically got the rival tribes to name him their supreme leader.
He did. Instead of just fighting endless, draining wars with the nomadic tribes to the north, he used a brilliant mix of military force and strategic diplomacy.
Carrots and sticks.
Exactly. He defeated the Eastern Turks, but then treated their surrendered elites with unprecedented respect, integrating them into his own military. As a result, the various nomadic tribes recognized him as their heavenly Kagan, a supreme overlord.
That's incredibly smart.
He pacified the frontiers, opening up the Silk Road to massive international trade, which flooded the capital with wealth.
He also overhauled the legal system, right? Like he established a highly codified set of laws that actually restricted his own imperial power and reduced the severity of punishments. He slashed taxes, and the economy just boomed.
Chan became a cosmopolitan global center under him.
But the detail that really sticks out to me is how he handled criticism. You'd think a guy who staged a coup wouldn't want to hear anyone talking back to him, but he deliberately surrounded himself with harsh critics.
The most famous of these critics was Wei Zhang. And this illustrates Taizong's political genius perfectly. Wei Zhang was actually a senior advisor to the dead crown prince.
Wait.
In fact, Wei Zhang had actively advised the crown prince to assassinate Li Shimin before the ambush at Shuanwu Gate.
Wait, so Taizong hires the guy who literally tried to have him killed?
Yes. When Taizong took power, he summoned Wei Zhang and demanded to know why he had plotted against him. Wei Zhang didn't grovel.
He stood his ground.
He essentially said, "I was serving my master at the time. If he had listened to my advice, he wouldn't be dead and you wouldn't be sitting there."
Oh, wow. The nerve.
Taizong was struck by this raw, fearless honesty. He spared Wei Zhang, promoted him to the highest levels of the chancellery, and actively encouraged him to relentlessly criticize his imperial policies.
He used Wei Zhang as a mirror. But it's also brilliant political theater, isn't it? By elevating the man who tried to kill him and publicly taking his criticism, Taizong signals to the entire empire, like, I am not a paranoid tyrant. I am a reasonable, enlightened leader who only cares about what works.
It was incredibly effective theater, but he also genuinely listened to the advice. It's the profound historical irony of the Shuanwu Gate incident. By executing this incredibly brutal surgical strike, Li Shimin cauterized a wound before it could infect the entire empire. He absorbed the moral stain of fratricide, and in exchange, he gave the empire generations of prosperity.
He paid for a golden age with his brother's blood. It's a fascinating, dark calculus. Well, let's take a last sip here and wrap this up. We started tonight talking about a family business dispute.
Yeah.
We ended up with a foggy ambush, a giant holding severed heads, a traumatized father on a boat, and a horrifying crime that paradoxically birthed a magnificent era of peace.
It forces us to evaluate historical actions by their long-term utilitarian outcomes, rather than just their immediate morality.
And before we close out tonight's deep dive, I want to leave you, yes, you, sitting right there at the bar with something to mull over, a little philosophical nightcap.
Give it to
History universally praises Emperor Taizong. They write poems about the peace and prosperity he brought to his people. They call him a genius of statecraft. But think about the cost. If the end result, a true, undeniable golden age that saves millions from starvation and war, is that spectacular, does it actually wash the blood off the horrifying, treacherous means used to achieve it?
Does a century of peace erase a morning of murder?
That is the kind of question that keeps you at the bar just a little bit longer.
It certainly is.
Thanks for pulling up a stool tonight and exploring this with us. Keep questioning the stories we're told and keep looking for what's hiding in the fog. We'll catch you next time.